The headlines didn't just surface. In a matter of hours, they went viral on the internet, refocusing attention on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in a way that was simultaneously familiar and oddly unfamiliar. Harry and Meghan rejected. Australia says no was the bold, dramatic, and immediately attention-grabbing headline that quickly turned what had begun as quiet speculation into a viral narrative that spread across social media, commentary channels, and entertainment platforms. Millions of people started interacting with the tale, but the underlying question wasn't whether it was true. Rather, it was why the story had gained such traction and resonated so deeply with viewers worldwide. Australia, a nation that once enthusiastically and joyfully welcomed the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, is at the heart of this developing tale. The atmosphere was electrifying when the royal couple made their first visit. Huge crowds gathered, people queued for hours to see them, and the media portrayed them as a contemporary royal pair that interacted with the public with ease. They were not surrounded by controversy or divergent viewpoints at the time. Rather, they represented change, variety, and a more approachable picture of royal life, and were widely viewed as a welcome new chapter for the monarchy. However, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's story has never remained straightforward. Their 2020 decision to resign from royal duties was a watershed that affected not only their personal lives, but also how the world saw them. Stepping away from official duties meant taking on a new role that was characterized by independence, media endeavors, and a global platform that existed outside of the monarchy's conventional framework. It was a decision that immediately split public opinion into two very different camps, garnering both praise and criticism. While some questioned the timing, logic, and ramifications of such a drastic shift, others regarded it as a daring and essential step toward freedom and self-determination. That difference developed rather than diminished over time. Every project, interview, and public appearance became a part of a broader discussion about their current identities and values. And in this complicated environment, the most recent story about Australia has surfaced, gaining popularity due to a number of assertions, interpretations, and responses that collectively produce something far more than the sum of its parts, rather than a single verified incident. There may have been plans or ideas including Australia, ranging from a hypothetical visit to a media project or a more comprehensive attempt to re-establish connections with audiences in Commonwealth nations, according to the stories that generated the present focus. There has been no official confirmation of any of these claims, and Australian authorities have not made any formal statements denying them. Nevertheless, the story swiftly developed into something far more conclusive in spite of the absence of unambiguous confirmation. The notion that they had been rejected started to spread as if it were a proven truth, being reiterated on many platforms until it developed a life of its own. At this point, it is hard to deny the power of perception. Stories can gain traction without official confirmation in today's internet world. To propel them into the spotlight, all they need is sufficient involvement, repetition, and emotional reaction. And this specific story has everything needed to become viral. It addressed current discussions over the Sussex's status in nations that have historically been associated with the monarchy, their role in the globe, and their relationship to it. Additionally, it added a tense element that drew people in by implying a struggle between public opinion and world leaders. Reactions poured in from all sides as the tale circulated. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's supporters contended that the story was overblown, highlighting the couple's ongoing global influence and pointing out that there was no formal ban or rejection. They emphasized their advocacy activities, charity endeavors, and capacity to engage people outside of the boundaries of royal tradition. The notion that a whole nation had said no seemed deceptive and unduly simplistic to them. Critics, however, had a different perspective on the matter. For them, the narrative represented a more general change in how the couple is viewed, especially in Commonwealth nations. They questioned if the Sussexes should continue to be present in certain areas, even though they are no longer employed by the royal family. They brought up issues of influence, optics, and the hazy boundaries between independent branding and royal identity. They believe that the story of resistance, whether official or informal, fits within a broader trend of shifting public opinion. The truth that lies between these divergent viewpoints is much more nuanced than the headlines portray. There isn't a single incident that sums up this tale or a clear-cut instance that serves as evidence of rejection. Rather, what is present is a mix of conjecture, interpretation, and response, all enhanced by the speed and scope of contemporary media. Nevertheless, the story keeps expanding in spite of this ambiguity because of continuous debate and people's innate desire for dramatic, unambiguous solutions. The development of rumors regarding a potential secret move between Meghan Markle and Australia adds yet another level of intrigue to the scenario. These allegations suggest that Meghan might be working covertly on a national project or effort that has not yet been made public but is already sparking interest and conjecture. Although the specifics are still unknown and there is no official confirmation to back up these rumors, the concept itself has proven potent enough to draw interest and sustain the discussion. A fresh aspect is introduced into the narrative by the idea of a covert plan. It creates a sense of suspense and mystery by changing the attention from what might have been rejected to what might still be in production. It raises concerns about timing, tactics, and how such a move would be viewed in the current environment if something is in fact being planned behind the scenes. Would it be greeted as a move in the right direction, or would it encounter the same level of scrutiny and discussion that has characterized a large portion of the couple's recent public life? The fact that there are no simple solutions to these issues contributes to the story's allure. It operates in an environment where conjecture and fact coexist, where perception has the same power as reality, and where each new piece of information has the capacity to drastically alter the story. It also draws attention to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's special place in the world. Although they are no longer conventional royals, they are also not wholly distinct from that identity. They navigate a course with no obvious precedent, operating in a realm that is still being defined. This tale has been greatly shaped and amplified by social media, the main venue where stories are created, contested, and altered in real time is now platforms. Thousands of postings, comments, and videos started to circulate within hours of the original reports becoming popular, each offering a fresh viewpoint or interpretation. Some concentrated on criticizing the pair, some on protecting them, and many just tried to figure out what was going on. As a result, the discourse quickly changed, making it harder to distinguish between opinion and information. This issue is especially intriguing, not only because of the story's content, but also because of how it has developed. It illustrates the speed at which a story may evolve and the lack of precise facts and the ease with which it can gain credibility through participation and repetition. It also illustrates the continued interest with Harry and Meghan as public characters, which has persisted despite years of intense media attention and examination. In the end, the fact that so many people are prepared to believe it may be more significant than the question of whether Australia has actually rejected Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The story itself has evolved into a more comprehensive tale about identity, influence, and the strength of perception in the contemporary world. It serves as a warning that in today's media landscape, it can be difficult to distinguish between what is proven and what is presumed, allowing stories to take on a life of their own. There is still no obvious solution in sight as the situation develops. The assertions are still unverified, opinions are still split, and conjecture is still growing. It is impossible to foresee whether new information will surface to provide light on the problem, or if it will just disappear when the next news takes its place. What is apparent, though, is that the narrative has already accomplished something noteworthy. It has once again brought Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to the attention of the world, igniting a discussion that goes well beyond the particulars of any one nation or claim. Stories like this will continue to emerge, develop, and captivate the imagination of millions of people worldwide. As long as that attention persists and audiences continue to watch, react, and interact, this will keep the story alive and guarantee that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's names stay firmly in the spotlight. Something changed in the conversation's tone as the story gained traction. What started out as rumors that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle might encounter opposition in Australia swiftly developed into a much more in-depth conversation about the long-term trajectory of their global influence and how it is being reshaped in real time, rather than just one nation or a rumored rejection. Because beneath the surface of popular headlines and catchphrases is a more strategic question that media analysts and royal commentators have quietly started to investigate. What precisely is the Sussex brand becoming? And how does it function in a world where traditional royal authority no longer defines it? The prospect of a possible relocation to Australia has piqued Meghan Markle's interest in particular, not only because of what it would entail, but also because of what it stands for. This is more than just a visit or a public appearance, if the rumors are even partially true. It might be a deliberate move to increase power in areas that still have historical connections to the monarchy, while also changing the way that power is used outside of it. And that's where the tension starts to manifest. Because it's difficult to operate in that area. It necessitates striking a careful balance between autonomy and affiliation, between developing one's own identity and handling the royal heritage that follows Prince Harry and Meghan Markle everywhere they go. Every action they take is examined through that dual lens, both for what it is and for its potential symbolic meaning. This explains the intense response to the Australia myth. Whether or not they are welcome is not the only consideration. It concerns how individuals understand their presence in an area that was formerly well defined by royal duties and roles. Everything becomes subject to interpretation in the absence of that formal structure, and conflict thrives on interpretation. According to some analysts, audiences in Commonwealth nations, such as Australia, are becoming more conscious of the differences between autonomous public figures and formal royal representation. According to this perspective, the response is more about recalibration, a change in how the Sussexes are viewed and comprehended internationally, than it is about rejection. Others, though, have a different perspective. They contend that media dynamics that favor dramatic framing over complexity may amplify the story of resistance beyond its true relevance. According to this viewpoint, the notion that a whole country has adopted a single position is not only improbable, but also simplistic, concealing the fact that public opinion is rarely so definitive. Nevertheless, the story's influence is undeniable in spite of these divergent interpretations. It has added a degree of ambiguity to the discussion, raising concerns about how Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's future worldwide appearances would be seen, especially in areas where their ties to the monarchy are still ingrained in the local culture and history. Simultaneously, the notion of a secret move persists, giving the narrative an almost strategic dimension. The timing of such a move becomes crucial if a plan is in fact being developed, whether it involves media, philanthropy, or a larger brand initiative. Introducing or disclosing something related to Australia during a continuing discussion about public opinion could either increase its impact or heighten the scrutiny surrounding it. This is where the contemporary media landscape is crucial. The Sussexes today operate in an environment where narratives are molded as much by internet conversation as by official declarations, in contrast to historic royal activities, which were frequently meticulously handled and presented through official channels. Every rumor, response, and viral post adds to a plot that is always changing and has the potential to change course at any time. This gives viewers a feeling of immediacy and engagement. Individuals are contributing their own viewpoints and interpretations to the narrative rather than only watching it. However, it adds a degree of unpredictability that is hard to manage for the people at the core of the story. The way an effort is viewed and discussed in the public domain has the power to overshadow or redefine even the most meticulously designed project. This returns attention to the main query that has been subtly guiding the entire discussion. What does influence look like for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in this new stage of their lives? Although it is no longer connected to royal titles in the conventional sense, such titles still play a role in their identity. Their acts nevertheless carry a level of exposure and significance that beyond that of most public figures, even if they are no longer limited to formal tasks. They operate in a special environment that combines aspects of global campaigning, celebrity, and legacy, posing previously unheard of opportunities as well as difficulties. In many respects, that complexity is reflected in the story of Australia. It demonstrates how their presence may spark conversations about tradition, change, and the changing dynamic between public people and the organizations they once belonged to, all of which go much beyond the current setting. It also illustrates how fast those conversations can turn divisive, with several groups having very different interpretations of the same circumstance. It becomes more and more obvious as the narrative progresses that there might not be a single conclusive result. It's possible that there won't be a formal confirmation of the rejection, a definitive confirmation of the rumored plans, or a moment that neatly answers all of the questions posed. The story itself, which has already taken on a life of its own and continues to influence people's perceptions of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, is probably what will survive. In this way, the true narrative goes beyond what transpired or what might occur in the future. It is about the creation, dissemination, and impact of stories on perception in a time where information travels more quickly than ever. It is about the impact of a viral word, the power of a headline, and how a single concept can become part of a much bigger story if it is repeated frequently enough. And with each step they take, Harry and Meghan have to deal with this reality. There is little reason to think that their journey will suddenly take a predictable course, as it has never done. The world will be watching, regardless of whether they decide to address the rumors, pursue new initiatives, or just let the discussion develop naturally. Closely, consistently, and with an unwavering level of focus. Because Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's story is ultimately about more than simply monarchy. It is about influence in the contemporary era, the relationship between media, perception, and identity, and how prominent personalities are shaped by the stories that surround them in addition to their deeds. And the debate will continue to change as long as those narratives do, guaranteeing that what started out as a single headline about Australia continues to be a part of a much wider continuous story that is still being produced in real time. And the debate will continue to change as long as those narratives do, guaranteeing that what started out as a single headline about Australia continues to be a part of a much wider continuous story that is still being produced in real time.